130 flights to be jumped here, and the white flag up, they're under orders and they're away to a first-timer, and Corbière, one of the first to show. Over on the far side, true or false in the centre. Islander right up with them, and Padsky. And it's Padsky, true or false, and Islander from Scotland. Also saw it work this morning just before 7 o'clock. He was the first horse out. Islander jumps it in the lead from Padsky and True or False, with Corbière on the far side, then Man on the Run and Silent Member and Kelso Chant, and then Miss Key and Owen Glynn and Fort Fox. Mountrivers is next, followed by Major Swallow on the inside, Silver Shadow, and then Daring Rose, and behind Daring Rose is Brumley with Lawrence Rambler, and then Ross Duvin, and then John Cherry, and finally Bective Road as they go right to the top of the hill here. Islander in the lead from True or False and Padsky, with on the inside Corbière, then Man on the Run and Silent Member and Kelso Chant and Mountrivers, and then Miss Key and Owen Glynn, and behind them Major Swallow and Fort Fox, Daring Rose and Lawrence Rambler, Silver Shadow and John Cherry and Ross Duvin, Brumley and Bective Road as the leaders come down to the second. Islander jumps it in the lead from in second place on the inside, True or False. Then comes Silent Member and Padsky and Corbière, and Man on the Run on the inner, then Kelso Chant and Miss Key and Owen Glynn and Fort Fox as they come down to the third now. Islander racing a little bit wide of the others, with True or False on his inside as they come down to this flight. Then Padsky and Man on the Run jump it next, and Corbière and Silent Member on the outside, Owen Glynn on the inner, and Kelso Chant and Miss Key. Then Major Swallow and Mountrivers, and behind them Silver Shadow with Fort Fox and Lawrence Rambler, and behind them John Cherry. And then Brumley, behind Brumley is Ross Duvin, then Daring Rose, and finally Bective Road. And this is the fourth. Islander jumps it in the lead from True or False. Very close they were together, those two. Then as they race up this hill, it's Man on the Run on the inside of Padsky, and then Silent Member, and then Owen Glynn and Kelso Chant and Miss Key, and then Mountrivers and Major Swallow on the inside, and the grey Silver Shadow getting a little bit closer to them, running downhill now. True or False on the inside of Islander, and then Man on the Run. Just behind Man on the Run is Padsky, and then Silent Member as they run down this hill. Behind Silent Member is Silver Shadow with Miss Key right there, and Mountrivers also, with Brumley tracking Mountrivers as they come down to this flight. Islander over the fifth from True or False, Man on the Run, Silent Member, Kelso Chant, Mountrivers, Miss Key, Owen Glynn, Major Swallow, Silver Shadow, pretty closely grouped. As they come to the sixth, which will be the second last on the next circuit, Islander lands in the lead from True or False and Silent Member and Padsky and Man on the Run and Kelso Chant, and Mountrivers and Miss Key and Silver Shadow and Owen Glynn and Fort Fox and Lawrence Rambler and Brumley, then Bective Road and Ross Duvin and Daring Rose. At the next, Islander over the seventh from True or False and Silent Member, then Padsky, Man on the Run and Owen Glynn and Kelso Chant, and behind them there come Mountrivers and Miss Key, and then Silver Shadow, and then Major Swallow. Fort Fox making a little ground on the inside there is John Cherry and Lawrence Rambler. Daring Rose is still the back marker. And now it's True or False who's taken it up fractionally from Islander in second and Silent Member third, and Fort Padsky. Five just behind them come Kelso Chant, then Mountrivers on the outside, then Owen Glynn and Corbière, and Miss Key and Silver Shadow and Major Swallow and John Cherry, and behind them Brumley and Fort Fox and Lawrence Rambler and Bective Road and Ross Duvin, finally Daring Rose. And it's True or False now as they come down to number 8. True or False in the lead from Islander, Silent Member and Padsky and Owen Glynn, and behind them Kelso Chant, and then Miss Key and Corbière and Mountrivers on the outside. Silver Shadow the Grey still travelling very well just in behind the leaders, then John Cherry, then Ross Duvin has made a little bit of progress with Major Swallow and Lawrence Rambler. Man on the Run is losing ground, losing considerable ground now as they run down towards the ninth. Downhill, Islander has come right back into the lead here, and it's Islander now from Silent Member, and True or False on the inside. Then Mountrivers, who's getting very much close to them. Silver Shadow, who's moved into sixth now, just ahead of Kelso Chant and Owen Glynn and Major Swallow, and then Miss Key. And then Lawrence Rambler and Corbiere and Padsky, who's lost a lot of ground. They've got 4 flights left to jump, and it's Silent Member who's taken it up now. Silent Member from Islander, Mountrivers, and travelling smoothly on their heels, the grey Silver Shadow. Then comes Major Swallow not far behind him, then Kelso Chant and Daring Rose, who's making swift progress from the rear of the field. As they reach the top of the hill, Silent Member's in the lead, from Mountrivers in second and Islander third. Fourth is Silver Shadow, then come Daring Rose and Major Swallow very close to them. Corbiere is next, and then comes Lawrence Rambler, and still quite a lot in the race as they come down to the third last. Silent Member in the lead though, from Islander on the inside. Mountrivers coming there strongly on the outside. Oliver Sherwood coming there on Major Swallow, and Daring Rose is also making progress, and old man John Cherry over on the far side is not out of it, and Silver Shadow is breathing down the necks of the leaders. And there it was Silent Member in the lead from Islander, Mountrivers, Silver Shadow still coming there strongly, and then Major Swallow. They're coming down now to the second last, and as they do so, it's Silent Member being pressed by Mountrivers, then Major Swallow, and it looks as though Silver Shadow is going to be pulled up. She's lost her action altogether over the second last, and it was Mountrivers and Silent Member. 1-2 for Ireland at the moment. Within third place, Daring Rose, and then comes Islander for Scotland, then Major Swallow, and it's Mountrivers now. Mountrivers in the lead from Silent Member. Just in behind them come Daring Rose, and then Islander as they come down to the final flight. Mountrivers is in the lead from Silent Member, Daring Rose. These are the 3 leaders. Mountrivers lands in the lead. From in second place, Silent Member, and third, Daring Rose, and 4 Islander, and racing into the closing stages. Mountrivers going away from Silent Member and Daring Rose. This is the first for the meeting for Eddie O'Grady. It's number 3 for Ireland, and Mountrivers wins the Waterford Crystal Stayers Hurdle from Silent Member in second place, third Daring Rose. 4 was Lawrence Rambler, and then Islander. Behind them Corbiere, and then came Owen Glynn, and then Major Swallow. Then Bective Road and Ross Dubin, Fort Fox, and behind him was Key, and then Attar John Cherry, and then Padsky, and then Man on the Run, and finally one of the long-time leaders, True or False. And so the result of the Waterford Crystal Stayers Hurdle, first number 10, Mountrivers, owned by Mr. Bruno Boozer, trained by Eddie O'Grady and ridden by Tommy Rahn. Second was number 22, Silent Member, owned by Mrs. P. Finnegan, trained by Pat Hughes and ridden by Tommy Carberry. And third was number 19, Daring Rose, owned by Mr. P.D. Saville and Mr. David Margulies and trained by Alan Jones.